From what I understand, Paulie Malignaggi is going to be fighting in bare knuckle boxing. He's probably going to fight Lobov. That's a possibility. I think that that could be a very big seller for the organization. And by the way, I really like the organization. Let's put the fights aside. I really love what they did with the arena. They made it a circle. They made the ropes. Now the ropes, they didn't look like ropes to me. They didn't look like they had any give. They looked like they were iron bars. Like they didn't move. I thought it was brilliant. Usually there's a vertical rope that holds the horizontal ropes together. It didn't seem like a regular ring rope. Okay, now for those of you who didn't see it, they made the ring round. They circled that square, they said, or square that circle, whatever they wanted to say. And I thought the layout was brilliant. I thought the presentation of the fights were brilliant. Like the production was really, really good. I think this event could really go somewhere. Now, if they have Paulie Malignaggi versus Artem Lobov, I think that could be a mega fight for them. They can start off their young career as a promotion with a mega fight. Why? There's a huge story behind that matchup. A lot of us know about it already, and I think it would make for an epic fight. Now, it's bare knuckle. In a boxing fight with boxing gloves, I would give a landslide win for Malignaggi. Bare knuckle, in my opinion, almost anything can happen. Now, Malignaggi, for those of you who don't know, he beat the likes of Zahabi, once upon a time. He's past his prime. He hasn't fought in years. He had a string of losses at the end of his career. He's still a world-class puncher, in my opinion. He's a world-class boxer. If he gets in shape for a Lobov fight, in my opinion, he wins that fight. However, I would never count Lobov out because it's bare knuckle and Lobov has the heart, he has the chin, and he has the power to upset that night. I would still, nonetheless, give a significant margin for Paulie. Paulie's footwork is going to be too much. His head movement, his style of fighting, his counter-punching ability, his ability to string his punches together, I think would be too much. In the long run, he would not only outpoint, but probably finish even Lobov. And I say that because it's bare knuckle. Now, for those of you who don't know, Paulie didn't have a lot of knockouts in his career, but he was fighting A1 list fighters. And Lobov is he's a UFC level fighter. He's a world-class UFC fighter. You got to give that to him. You got to give it to him. He's a world-class MMA fighter. However, he would be going in the realm of boxing against Malignaggi. Now, if it was an MMA fight, of course we give it to Lobov. No questions asked. Paulie doesn't know anything about MMA, but Artem would be stepping into Malignaggi's world. And if you step into another world-class fighter's world, if you're going to any combative arts, if you're going to go in taekwondo versus the best taekwondo guy in the world, or one of the best, or you're going to go in kickboxing against a kickboxer, a world champion kickboxer, or a former world champion kickboxer, or you're going to go into wrestling versus a world champion freestyle wrestler. In freestyle wrestling, you're going to lose. Okay, I mean, you might put up a good fight, you might put up something interesting for the fans to watch. However, nonetheless, that's his world, that's his realm. He grew up there. He knows the ins and outs of that game. He's likely to win. So that's just the way it is. Artem's an MMA fighter. Malignaggi's a boxer. They would be fighting in boxing. BKB is not like actual boxing. It's way different. That's from the guard. I get what you're saying from there. You're probably saying that because there's no glove, that Artem's not really fighting Malignaggi in boxing. It's a totally different sport. I would have to disagree with you. I mean, it's still boxing. They have the word boxing, and it's bare knuckle boxing. We can't say it's totally irrelevant to boxing. I would agree with you that the mechanics are going to be different. I think a lot of the peekaboo fighters, fighters who cover up and then punch, like Winky Wright, they cover up and then they punch. We call them peekaboo fighters. I don't think that works as well in bare knuckle boxing. Winky Wright was world champion, a legitimate world champion in the boxing world, and he did the peekaboo style, covering up and firing back, covering beautiful defensive work in boxing with 8-ounce, 10-ounce gloves. Without a glove, in my opinion, no, it'd fall short. We don't see many peekaboo styles in MMA for that reason. However, for those of you who are not familiar with Malignaggi was the opposite of a peekaboo fighter, complete opposite. He was a slick counterpuncher with lots of footwork and head movement and mobility and bending at the waist and taking angles. He was very hard to hit. He was known for being very hard to hit, and he rarely covered up. He would cover up every so often. Obviously, every boxer does, but rarely. He did not rely on the gloves for his defensive maneuvers. Now, for those of you who know Lobov puts his hands down. He plays the same game as Malignaggi. I just think that Malignaggi plays that game at another level. That's just my one Artem was learning wrestling and counter wrestling and grappling and counter grappling and chokes and arm bars. Malignaggi was just boxing. So there was a lot of years of Artem's training that were dedicated to jiu-jitsu and wrestling. They have to, because he's doing MMA and kicking, don't forget, and elbowing and kneeing. So Malignaggi's training is concentrated in punching, and his style, in my opinion, is going to convert well to bare knuckle boxing. In my opinion, his style is going to convert well to bare knuckle boxing. Again, who knows? You're right. It's bare knuckle. One shot. One shot could be the night. I agree with you. The chances of getting knocked out with one punch, in my opinion, are greater. In my opinion. So I agree with you there. But I wouldn't say it's a totally different sport. I would not say that. Lobov, no real head movement. Well, he did a nice slip in round one. It came back, I think it was with an uppercut or a right hand. I can't remember. Jason Knight threw a jab, and he kind of did a beautiful slip and counter punch. I thought it was really, really well done. So you're right. At one point in the fight, he did stop moving his head. I would agree with you. But he has shown good head movement in the past.